This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. If you go to theyoungturks.com/GoDaddy, you get the best promo codes in the world.
So now we've had 4 killed in fighting across Bahrain, and a very small island country, just 500,000 people in the whole country. But now it looks like it's spread there. It's hard to believe that it would start in Egypt and then spread to Bahrain, and then that would be the end of it.
Well,
right?
Bahrain's a little different. I mean, it's the population is primarily Shia. The Sheikh is Sunni.
Right.
The Shia don't have a lot of rights. They've kind of been agitating for years, and $3,000.
But isn't that similar?
It's a lot of money, but it's apparently not enough.
Isn't that Shia-Sunni divide similar to a lot of the monarchies in the Arab world, where keeping the Shiites in place is what they've wanted to do as Sunni monarchies, to sort of keep them happy? But it's not unique to Bahrain at all.
No, it's not unique to Bahrain, but what's unique is
so
they have
well, by the way.
they have a higher percentage of the population that's Shia. Whereas Saudi Arabia does as well, but it's only 20%, even though that 20% is mainly situated around the oil fields.
Right.
And what the protesters are demanding there is that the Sunni leadership give up its sort of lock hold of key government positions, which it's of course apparently unwilling to do, and thought perhaps it could buy its way out of. But violence erupted there, and I think as I mentioned, there are 4 dead.
Interestingly, the king himself led the attack on the protesters this morning.
Which is interesting also.
Personally,
because
like in a tank.
Like he was out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would think a majority, from what I've read, of the protesters have said that they're okay with a monarch who's just not, sort of like England, who has nothing to do with the way the government is run. He's a ceremonial monarch. But now that monarch who they were supporting got into a tank and sort of led the battle today. It was like the old days.
Yeah.
Here's a little of what it looked like, and it's not. It was a little scary, as you'll see, specifically for one ABC News reporter. But here's a little of what it sounded like and looked like overnight in Bahrain.
What baby? They're trying to.
Those are the sounds of an army attack, sort of what had been at a peaceful demonstration.
Yeah, but it's also an army attack, but it's an army attack that's not using live ammunition. Those are concussion grenades, tear gas grenades, and they're firing rubber bullets.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
But still scary. 4 people dead. Interesting piece from Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times. I think that's clip 2. As he sort of walked with the protesters before the army got busy before they got busy breaking up the protests. Here's Nick Kristof's piece.
I'm here to be with my brothers and my sisters. We want democracy. We want a free country.
Dictators seem to have trouble learning their lessons. One of the issues in Tunisia and in Egypt was that crackdowns just created a backlash, created more antagonism toward the government. Here in Bahrain, the government did the same thing. It staged a brutal crackdown, and this is a funeral for one of those people who was killed. There are so many people out here who have been just enraged by that killing and are saying they'll continue to march and demand the overthrow of the regime. In the United States, some people are worried that the result of this movement might be a hardcore Islamic republic like Iran. What do you say about that issue?
I can't say this. Absolutely, this is not true. Because the people here are demanding democracy, human rights demands, and respecting people's choices, the peace change of the authorities. That's what we demand.
We want to live in democracy. They are pretending that we have democracy and we're not.
With peace and blood, we will redeem you, martyr. It's not a great. It's not a great sign.
Bahrain's a little more complicated because the Saudis are always going to point to Iran because they're going to back the Bahraini royal family. So they're always going to point to Iran and say, "Oh, this is all orchestrated by Iranian intelligence because they're Shia, and they'll have, Iran will have a beachhead then on the Arabian Peninsula, and so they're going to back the Bahrainis all the way," which is why you saw the Sheikh went out and personally attacked those protesters because he knows he has Saudi backing for it.
Leaving that part out, well, I guess you can't leave that part out. What is it Is this likely to work? I mean, or are
Who knows?
have we reached a point where this sort of crackdown is pointless?
I don't know. I mean, look, what you see is if you do a crackdown and you're willing to kill lots of people and be a pariah, crackdowns work. I mean, the crackdown worked in Iran this week.
Yeah.
And it worked in Iran before. I mean, it worked in China. If you're willing to kill your own citizens and you don't have a problem with it or what people think of you, it works.
You know, something else, I mean, that's you know, plainly obvious, especially when you see what happened in Egypt and how they didn't, you know, crack down in that way. They cracked down early, and then that crackdown ended because the army was sort of complicit with the protesters at a certain point. But one of the things that strikes me about, you know, listening to the story about Bahrain, sorry, I can't keep a straight face when I say it like that, is that we're a very egocentric country with good reasons sometimes and with ridiculous reasons sometimes. But you know, none of these people in Egypt, certainly, and in Bahrain are not. They're not aggressively anti-American when they're saying these things. Even though we have coddled these dictators and these monarchies, and we have been friends with them, we played the hand we're dealt. This is not about America. This is about democracy, and it doesn't strike me that these people are trying to be anti-American at all, which is a big fear in America.
I don't care whether it is or isn't. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're mainly having it because they're tired of getting beaten and pushed around.
Of course, but I'm saying the stories that you read here and the fears that these people are talking about, that people on the outside are talking about, is that what does this mean for America? Is this going to have crazy Islamist government?
Yeah, but you got to understand, most of those fears are all being pushed by either Israel or the Saudi royal family to hold on to power. You don't know what the truth is.
But it's also it's a reflex of Americans now. I mean, they interpret this as they interpreted in other places, as they interpreted 9/11, that this is an anti-American part of the world. When in fact, these people are not thinking about America. They're thinking about being repressed by a monarchy.
Being realistic, it is going to be an anti-American part of the world. It has been. It will continue to be. The question is, will it be kind of anti-American or rabidly anti-American?
Okay, I'll grant you that. I know Ben wants to say something, but what I'm saying is that it's not motivated by that.
No, of
at
course
all.
not.
These are people that are repressed by bad governments, by dictators, by monarchs, whatever it is, and they want democracy. And it's not because they hate America or they resent their leadership for hating America. They resent their leadership for repressing their rights, which is totally different.
Cenk, if you want to buy a domain name, you want to know the best website to go to?
I already know it. GoDaddy.com.
First of all, they have 24/7 customer service.
If you want to download GoDaddy's free iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry app, boom, on your phone instantly. And if you go to theyoungturks.com/GoDaddy, you get all of our promo codes, like TYT1 gets you 10% off of all your orders.
TYT3 gets you a .com domain for only $7.99.
You can't beat that.